there, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Jessie and I post new videos here on my channel just about every weekday lately. Today's video is going to be my budget for the second paycheck in the month of July. It's the paycheck my husband received on July 14th. He gets paid weekly and therefore we budget weekly. We budget paycheck to paycheck using the Budget by Paycheck workbook from the Budget Mom. So I'm just going to go over all of our bills and expenses this week. We're going to talk about what we're paying to debt because my husband and I are on a debt-free journey. We're also going to be talking about what we're putting away in savings. And so without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. So I have my Budget by Paycheck workbook here. It is from the Budget Mom, like I mentioned. I have the printable version that I purchased, so I can just print the pages that I need. And what I do is I print them and I use a punch from ARC and I put them right into a big size Happy Planner. So this is 8.5 by 11 size. I'm able to print the pages full size. I don't have to worry about resizing anything. They fit perfectly in here. And this is just how I have chosen to work with my budget. In addition to this planner, I also have a Deluxe monthly planner from Erin Condren, and this is where I keep track of all of my bills and my spending. All my transactions go in here. I use a color coding system and stickers that I made myself using my silhouette portrait, and this is how I keep track of my spending. There is a transaction log that is sort of like a bank register that comes as part of the Budget by Paycheck workbook. So if that is the sort of tracking system that works for you, then it's right there in this book. If you need that, I'm going to link the Budget by Paycheck workbook in my description box, as well as the Deluxe monthly planner. But this is how I keep track of my transactions. Each of my transactions is broken down by this color coding system. So this light blue is bills, this pinky red color is debt payments, this peachy pink is groceries, purple, this is like light lilac purple color, is gas, yellow is eating out, green is miscellaneous, and then this dark purple is my personal spending money. So since bills are blue, we are going to look at the week that we are currently in, which is July 14th through the 20th. Since we budget by paycheck, we look at the day my husband gets paid and we take care of all of the bills and expenses that are happening between the paycheck he received this week and the paycheck he'll receive next week. So everything that falls on July 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th is going to get taken care of with this paycheck. So that's what we're budgeting for. So for me, that is my Boost Mobile bill, as you can see here. It's also the minimum payments on some of my debts, like my truck payment, our Amazon card, our camper, etc. So that's just how I kind of figure out what we are working with this week. And now we can start writing in our numbers. So I'm going to start out with bills. And this bills category, in my case, for my budget, is anything that's going to stay in my bank account. There are categories here for cash envelopes and sinking funds and things. And for those things, I pull out cash. But under bills is anything that I'm going to pay with my debit card or through my checking account. So let me zoom you guys in and we'll start talking about those expenses. So the first thing is groceries. Obviously, I have to feed my family for the week. I go grocery shopping once a week, usually on Tuesdays, and I budget $150 for that. That is for my family of 4. It's myself, my husband, and our 2 children, who are both boys. They are 17 and 12. So that $150 budget is to feed my family for the week. That's everything that we need to get us through the week. yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So the reason that I keep grocery under bills is because we typically do our grocery shopping through the Walmart pickup service, and so that is an online expense. We pay through our debit card, we order the groceries online, and then we just go and we pick them up. If I was going into a grocery store, I probably would take my grocery money in cash, but as it is, we just leave that $150 in the bank to cover our groceries. Next up, I have household. So I budget $30 a week for household items. And the way that I do this is I send this $30 directly to my Amazon credit card because we get a lot of our household items through Amazon Subscribe and Save. So $30 a week is what I send to that card, so that's $30 for the budget there. Next, we'll start breaking down some actual bills. So you guys saw during that little introduction where I showed you my Erin Condren Deluxe monthly that I have a Boost mobile bill due this week. That is my cell phone service. So this is 4 lines. All 4 of us in my family have a phone. We pay $130 for 4 lines. That's unlimited talks, text, everything. Next, I have my truck payment, which is due this week. We have an F-250 Super Duty that we are making payments on. It's a little bit of an older truck, but it does us well, and we pay $300 a month for that, so that is the budget for that. A lot of times with these bills, especially if the bills vary, I will round up what I think I need for my budgeted amount, and that way I know I'm covered. But in the case of these couple bills here, I know that that's what these bills are every single month, and so that's what we're budgeting. I don't anticipate these bills being any higher than that. Next, I have State Farm, which is a credit card, and we are just going to be paying the minimum payment on this card. We, as I mentioned, are on a debt-free journey, but we are using the debt snowball method. And so what that means is that we have listed out all of our debts in order from least to greatest, and we will be paying the minimum payments on all of our credit cards, with the exception of the very first one on the list, the lowest balance. That will be the one that we focus on. So we will put all of the extra money that we can towards that debt. The rest just get the minimum payment. So the State Farm card is not the card we are currently working on, and so it will just get the minimum payment of $25. Next up, we have Amazon. As I mentioned, we have an Amazon credit card. That is one of the cards that we are eventually going to tackle to pay off. We do use some credit cards and pay them off every month. Other credit cards that we have carry a balance. State Farm carries a balance. Amazon also carries a balance. And so, again, this is not the card we are currently tackling, and so it will just get the minimum payment, which I am budgeting $110 for. Next up, we have my camper. So in addition to my truck, we also own a travel trailer that we are making payments on. That payment is just under $200 a month, and we always aim to pay $200 a month to that. And that is going to do it for my bills. So this is everything that I anticipate being pulled directly out of my bank account. Now I'm going to pull in the trusty calculator on my phone here, and we're going to add this up. All right, so we have 150 plus 30 plus 130 plus 300 plus 25 plus 110 plus 200. That is $945 that I'm anticipating for this bills category this week. All right, next we're going to move into our cash envelopes. So this cash envelope section here is for anything that I'm going to pull out in cash that I anticipate spending this week. So this is cash envelopes. This is not savings. This is not sinking funds. This is money that I'm pulling out in cash to take care of any expenses that I have this week that I plan on actually paying out this week. So we're going to start out with gasoline. I like to pull out my gasoline money in cash, even though it can be a pain to go into the gas station, because the way that we work gasoline is we budget $50 for that. And some weeks we need that full $50, and so it's good that we budget that amount. But other weeks we don't quite need that much. And so what we do is anything that we do not spend filling up our gas tank, we put into a sinking fund for a future point in time when maybe we need more than this $50 a week for gas. So it's really easy just to take that gas money out of my cash envelope and put it into a sinking fund. I also keep our sinking funds in cash. Hopefully that makes sense. Next, I have miscellaneous. So this miscellaneous category essentially covers anything that's not in my budget. It seems like without fail, every single week, something comes up that I didn't anticipate or that I didn't plan for. And so this miscellaneous money just covers those instances. We always budget $50 for miscellaneous as well. Next, I have my spending money. My husband and I each take a little bit of spending money every week, and this money we can spend on whatever we want. So it's just like essentially our allowance. So I'm going to budget $40 for myself, and my husband is going to get $40 as well. Also, for my cash envelopes, we have eating out. I do like to budget $50 a week for eating out. That way we can order a pizza one night, or we can go out as a family to get a nice meal. It is actually my goal for July to spend less than $50 a week eating out. However, I'm still going to give myself $50 because sometimes we fall short of our goals, and I definitely want to be prepared. So that is that. And the last thing that we're doing for cash envelopes this week is for my son, Austin. He's my 12-year-old. He's been doing a lot of stuff around the house to earn extra money. He's actively saving for something currently. And so he's been doing things like cutting grass and helping out with extra chores and things in an attempt to earn that money. And so I'm going to pull out $30 in cash for him. That's not something that I do every week. My oldest son has an opportunity to earn money all the time. You know, he's 17. He can get a part-time job. He does a ton of lawn maintenance for friends, and so he always has spending money. My younger son doesn't have those same opportunities because he's younger. So he's just been helping me out with certain things, and that's how he's been earning his spending money lately. It's not like his daily chores. It's not necessarily an allowance, because those are things like cleaning his room and stuff. Those are things that are expected of him. This is above and beyond his typical everyday chores. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's add this up, because that is it for the cash envelope category. So we have 50 plus 50 plus 40 plus 40 plus 50 plus 30. That's $260 that we are budgeting for our cash envelopes. And you guys will see in my next video me actually stuffing my cash envelopes as well as my sinking funds, and that's what we're going to focus on next. So if you're not familiar with sinking funds, essentially they are savings goals. Sinking funds are for any bills or expenses that you know are coming that are not necessarily weekly or monthly. They happen less often than that. Things that you know you're going to need money for, you're going to need to pay, but they're not on a super regular basis. And so I have chosen to use sinking funds to help me save up for those things. I save a little bit of money here and there throughout the year so that when those expenses inevitably come up, I'm covered. I'll give you some examples right now. So one of the sinking funds that we are actively saving for is our campground. I mentioned earlier that we have a camper that we are making payments on. It sits at a campground. We have a site that we pay for annually. It's phenomenal. It's a beautiful campground. It gives us all the amenities of that campground for us to go camping all summer long. And it also allows us to store our camper in the winter. We're in Michigan, so we have very cold winters. Obviously, we're not camping during the winter, so we don't have a lot of land that we live on. We live in a mobile home, and so this is a great way for us to be able to store our camper and have a wonderful summer doing all sorts of fun activities at our campground. And there's an annual fee that's associated with that, and so we save a little bit of money throughout the year, a little bit at a time, so that it all adds up. And then in October, when this campsite annual fee is due, we have the money for it. We're budgeting $50 to put away for that, and I do that pretty much every week. Next up, we have car tags and maintenance. This is another thing. You know that you're going to have to renew your car tags. You know that you're going to have to get oil changes. Eventually, you're going to need a spark plug, or you're going to need windshield wipers. So it's a good idea to be putting money aside a little at a time for those inevitabilities. And I'm going to budget $25 for that. Also, Christmas. Christmas comes every single year on December 25th, and yet I have found myself over the years on a couple of different occasions, Christmas is coming and I don't have any money set aside, and so what do? Do I not buy my family members Christmas gifts? Of course not. I just swipe a credit card, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So I put a little bit of money aside every week for Christmas, and that is $25 as well. Next up, I'm starting a new sinking fund. When I was going through my sinking funds in last week's video, I went through and kind of ran down all of the various sinking funds that I have, because we have a ton of sinking funds, but we're not actively saving for all of them right now. So I was just going down the list. Someone had asked me what sinking funds I have, and something that I noticed that was missing from my sinking funds is a clothing sinking fund. And that also became very obvious when my husband this week told me, hey babe, I need a new belt. And I don't have money set aside for clothing. I don't know what I was thinking. I have clothing money set aside for my kids through our school expenses envelope. We always take them like back to school shopping and stuff. But I didn't have like a clothing sinking fund for myself or my husband. We were just taking that sort of thing out of our regular budget. And I would rather save a little bit at a time for that. So we're going to start a clothing sinking fund. And we are going to put $50 in that, and that's essentially because that's what my husband's going to need for that belt. So this is something, though, that I want to start saving a little bit at a time throughout the year so that when we inevitably need new clothing for something, we have it. So that is it for my sinking funds. So I'm just going to, again, add that up. So we have 50 plus 25 plus 25 plus 50 is 150, and that is what I aim to save every week for sinking funds. Whether it's these same categories or a different category, just depends on what my savings goals are. But I do aim to save at least $150 a week for sinking funds. It doesn't always happen. My husband's paid based on commission, so sometimes his paycheck's a little lower and we can't swing that. Other times we're just focusing on other things, but that is my goal, $150 at least a week. I'd love to be able to save more, but it is what it is. Okay, next we have extra debt. So I talked about my debt snowball, our debt-free journey. Our debt snowball has added up slowly over time as we have paid off credit cards. We have taken the minimum payments of those cards and added it to the amount that we aim to send to the credit card that we are working on. And so our debt snowball has added up to $128 a week. We've just sort of taken our monthly amount that we know that we can afford to pay based on what we have extra plus the minimum payments of the cards we've paid off previously. That monthly amount then gets divided by 4, and that's how much we pay every week. We aim to pay debt on a weekly basis since we're paid on a weekly basis, and that way we are chipping away at those debt totals a little bit at a time. And so the budgeted amount for our debt snowball is $128. There have been times when this week comes up and my husband's paid, and like I said, since he's paid based on commission, sometimes the paycheck's lower than we would like, and so we don't get to pay this debt snowball amount, but this is the goal. So there's that. And lastly, I have extra savings, and this is different from sinking funds because our sinking funds have a specific goal in mind or a specific amount that we are aiming to accumulate. Extra savings is just that. It's extra savings. It's not a certain amount that I'm trying to save or even for a certain thing. It's just extra. So I use a fun printable that I found on mothermeandI.com called Savopoly. It looks like a Monopoly board. You roll a dice, you go around the little board, only the property that you land on corresponds with an amount that you save every week. So it's a fun way to save a little bit of extra money and just put it away for a rainy day. I will link that printable down below for you if you are interested. When I did my rolling for the week, I landed on a property worth $15, and so that is how much I am going to aim to save this week. And that's basically it. That is all of my bills and expenses and savings. That is the plan for the week. If you are interested in seeing how this all works out, what I actually spend, you can check back at the early part of next week and you will be able to see my budget results video where I break down exactly how much I spent on each of these categories. You can see if I was over budget or under budget, see if everything went as planned. It's one of my favorite videos to film, and you guys seem to really like the budget results videos too, so make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss that. So that's the budget. Before we go, I'm going to flip over to the cash envelope breakdown page of my Budget by Paycheck workbook, and we're going to figure out the denominations and things that I need for the cash that I need to pull out of the bank. And so the way that I do this is here in this category section, I write out each of the categories from my budget that I know that I need cash for. So in my case, that is our cash envelopes, our sinking funds, and our extra savings. All of that gets pulled out in cash. So I'll go through and I'll write each of these categories: gasoline, miscellaneous, blah, 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 etc., and their amounts. So I'm going to do that off camera so you guys don't have to watch me painstakingly write everything, but I will come back and we'll do the cash breakdown together. Alright, you guys, so I have written out all of the categories as well as their totals, and now we're just going to break down the denominations that I need. And I do this because if I go to the bank and I just tell them that I want such and such amount of money, say I tell them I want $250, they're going to give me 200s and a 50. And I'm not going to be able to break that down then to put into my various envelopes. And so I need to make sure that I know that I want, you know, whatever the full amount of money is, and I want 10 10s and 6 5s and etc., so that I can fill my envelopes. So let's find out what that cash breakdown actually is. I'm going to be going through here and I'm going to request smaller denominations as there is a coin shortage, and there's a lot of places right now that isn't taking cash at all, or if they are taking cash, they need exact change. I'm going to be taking small denominations. That way I'm more likely to have the amount in cash that I need. If there comes a circumstance where I'm going somewhere and I have my cash, but the place does not accept cash because of the coin shortage, I do have a buffer in my checking account, so I can still use my debit card for that. And then I would just take the cash out of the envelope and I would put it into a special envelope that I have in my cash wallet that is a 2-bank envelope. Let me show you guys really quick. So say I go to the grocery store and, well, I guess it wouldn't be the grocery store. So say I go to the gas station and I want to put $20 into my tank, but they're not accepting cash because of the coin shortage. I would then go into my little cash envelope wallet here. This is from Amazon, by the way. I would go into my gasoline envelope. I would take that $20 out of my gasoline envelope, and then I would just stick it back here in my little 2-bank envelope. And then at the end of the week, everything that's in my 2-bank envelope gets deposited back into my bank, and that covers anything that I had to use my debit card for. Hopefully that makes sense. And like I said, if you guys want to see me stuff these cash envelopes, you'll definitely want to check out my next video. All right, so for gasoline, rather than just pulling a $50 bill out, I'm going to take 2 20s and a 10. So we have 2 20s and a 10. And I just go down the list and I break it down that way. For miscellaneous, I'm also going to take 2 20s and a 10. My spending is going to be 2 20s. My husband's spending is also going to be 2 20s. For eating out, we're really going to break this down because I want to make sure that I have the cash that I need to tip if we order a pizza or whatever. So we're going to do a 20, 2 10s, a 5, and 5 1s. For my son, we're just going to do a 20 and a 10. The campground is a sinking fund, and that's not money that I'm going to have to spend right away. So I'm more comfortable pulling out larger bills for our sinking funds. So in the case of campground, that money is not going to be spent until October. And if worse comes to worse, I could always deposit that money and just use my debit card to pay for a campground. So I'm just going to pull a 50 for that. And the same with the rest of these. It's not money that I'm spending right away, so I don't need smaller bills for that. So for car tags and maintenance, we're going to pull a 20 and a 5. Same with Christmas. Clothing, we're going to do a 50. And for Savopoly, we're going to do a 10 and a 5. And so now I just go down the list and I add it up. So we're going to need 5 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 5s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10s, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 20s, and 2 50s. And then we break it down. So 5 1s is $5, 4 5s is $20, 6 10s is $60, 12 20s is, let's see, 12 times 20, $240, and 2 50s is $100. And now I'm just going to add up these amounts here and get a total, and then make sure that that total correlates with this total, and that's how I will know that I did everything right. So we're going to do 50 plus 50 plus 40 plus 40 plus 50 plus 30 plus 50 plus 25 plus 25 plus 50 plus 15. That's $425. And then we'll just add the same here. 5 plus 20 plus 60 plus 240 plus 100 is $4.25, so that's accurate. So then I'm going to transfer this information here to one of my little cash teller sticky notes. And this is from the Budget Mom as well, and it's super handy because I can just fill in all this information. I can take this little sticky note right to the bank and hand it directly to the teller, and then she can get the amount of cash that I need, and it's super easy for her because it's all there in black and white. And 100 for a total of 425. All right, so I'm going to take this to the bank and pull out the cash that I need, and I will be back in my next video to share the cash envelope stuffing and the sinking fund stuffing. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up so that I know. I would love it if you would subscribe. I'd love to have you back. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.